UCLA women's basketball, their biggest, most challenging test to date. It's finally here. It is finally here. Yes, that's said with UCLA hosting South Carolina, the reigning unbeaten national champs. But their toughest, the demon they need to slay to beat everybody en route to a potential national championship, to win a Big Ten regular season championship, get a 1 seed, you have to beat USC. Unlike many teams in most college sports, most conferences, UCLA has a bitter rival that is just not so far away, just a few miles away in Los Angeles. UCLA's got a star, I think, that is not as beloved in Lauren BETTS. Some people say she's getting the love she deserves. No, not as much as a JuJu Watkins, the Paige Beckers. UCLA is falling on the short end of the stick, where, South Carolina got a lot of love for losing at Texas, or, this team, LSU got the... We're forgetting that UCLA is an unbeaten number 1 team in the country, has been so since absolutely demolishing South Carolina. And now, despite issues with turning over the basketball, despite not playing as well against Ohio State, or for the first part against Minnesota, or against Oregon in Eugene, UCLA has continued to build wins. And now going to the Galen Center, only the best of the best have been able to do so. All right, USC comes in with 2 losses, having lost at the Caitlin Clark retirement jersey ceremony. I'm fairly confident that 99.9% of teams, including UCLA, probably would have gone to the Caitlin Clark jersey retirement ceremony in Iowa and not come out with the W. That just is not going to happen. USC, though, did play Notre Dame. And who's Notre Dame? What are they doing? They are a team that keeps rising up the standings to the 2-3 spot, depending on where you're looking at your bracketology, the AP poll, which we love and hate in some regards. They're right there. Notre Dame has some of the best wins. What did they do? They went to USC and beat USC by double figures, which means this UCLA game is bigger. The results, the ramifications are huge. UCLA, if they go to USC, who is healthier now, they didn't play with Kennedy Smith when they lost to Notre Dame in the early part of the season, because it was Notre Dame, USC one day, UCLA, South Carolina. And that completely shifted what the rankings look like, right? UCLA was on top 5, a little bit outside. And the next thing you know, UCLA is the dominant team and the only team in all of college basketball that is unbeaten. But now, JuJu Watkins, Kiki Iriafen. All right, these teams are so similar. You look at what they've done against Ohio State, sluggish early, their stars not playing well. They each turned it over 23 times. All right, each team turned it over 23 times against a top 10 at the time Ohio State team that plays a crazy, reckless abandon for their pressure defense. And both teams turned it over. They turned it over so much that if they cut their turnovers in half, UCLA or USC, these teams would be even better and scarier. And we're only in the early portion of mid-February. Okay, these two teams are as, similar as it gets. You've got a superstar battling for the Wooden Award, National Player of the Year awards. You got 2 teams that are near the top of the Big Ten. UCLA, an Oregon State transfer. USC, another Oregon State transfer. Both teams raided the Oregon State roster that made a deep run in the NCAA tournament last year, taking advantage of the move to the Big Ten to bring talented pieces to build the roster. Both teams are better for it. Both teams are led by Stanford transfers who are big players in the posts. USC, Kiki Iriafen, a little shorter than Lauren BETTS, but is equally as dominant down low as a 6'3" forward. Lauren BETTS is an unstoppable force that most teams have been unable to stop until recently, where they've said, we're going to double, triple team you. We're going to make you pass out. UCLA used that to the advantage of a big win against Minnesota. She dominated then she got points against Ohio State. And then against Oregon, not as dominant, and came off a frustrating game that ended with 4 personal fouls and a technical. JuJu Watkins isn't playing that well either. No, she is not playing that well either. Those last 3 games, she was cold to start Ohio State. I believe she missed, 9 to 10 shots, a couple, if not 1 point at halftime against Ohio State. Those are some of your best players in the country, and they haven't played the best. That's why this game is going to come down to a few things that will change women's college basketball right now, the immediate national impact. USC wins this game, they will be the 1 seed, right? Because they're giving love to the 2 SEC teams, Texas and South Carolina. Notre Dame has some of the best wins in all of college basketball. So they're not going to, you can't knock them off their perch. UCLA, yes, okay. USC, you beat UCLA, South Carolina can't claim that. They jump up there. Texas has beaten South Carolina. Notre Dame is there. South Carolina, UCLA, yeah, they could battle, but they're just going to give love to South Carolina, most likely. So there's potential if UCLA loses this game, they fall out of a top seed line. That's unlikely, but with the challenging schedule, 1, maybe 2 more USC games remaining, and still another challenging battle in the Big Ten tournament, UCLA has potential by losing this game to lose their firm grip on the Big Ten standings and lose a potential 1 seed. Now, at the moment, they're so dominant, unlikely, but that is the ripple effect that could happen. And the next thing you know, you have 2 teams battling for West Coast supremacy, right? You don't want to go to Birmingham in that region. You want to go to Spokane and be the 1 seed in the Spokane region and just go north as opposed to going all the way east and having limited fan support where the South Carolina fans are going to outnumber you. Every other fan base will outnumber you as opposed to going north. Less travel makes it better over the first 2 weekends and being more well-rested, have a better bracket to getting into the Final Four, right? These wins here are the difference between playing the LSUs and the UConns in the Elite Eight, Sweet 16 in some cases, right? Like UCLA last year or USC playing UConn in the Elite Eight last year, or facing them in the Final Four or having another equally great team knock them out early, giving yourself an easier path to a potential NCAA championship, right? Those are things UCLA has to worry about. Now, there are 3 things UCLA and SC are going to have to worry about in this game. 1, how many free throws does JuJu Watkins take in this game? These 2 teams, who is going to step up? We're going to build this up, Lauren Betts versus JuJu Watkins. But it's who are the depth pieces beyond just Kiki Rice, beyond the 2 Kikis, beyond the JuJu and Lauren Betts, who are those depth pieces that will step up? And then 3, both teams turn the ball over at an extremely high clip. USC makes up for it by 1, stealing the ball just as relentlessly back, so they force more turnovers, all right? If USC turns it over 20 times, you're also going to turn over 20 times. UCLA has a decent assist-to-turnover ratio. They have one of the best point guards in the country in Kiki Rice, and one of the best true freshman backup point guards in Alina Arnasalo. But there are places where these players can get the ball ripped from them, and that's who they have to attack. And I'm going to explain that more next on Locked On UCLA. These 2 teams split the regular season last year, right? UCLA won at home, USC won at home, and then the Pac-12 tournament semifinal went to double overtime. USC was up big early. The Bruins came all the way back, had a chance to win at the end of regulation, had a 4-point lead with a little less than a minute remaining after coming all the way back in overtime. And then next thing you know, they blew that 4-point lead, and USC comes back to win in double OT. That's how close it was. Very close back. UCLA was up big early against USC the first time. USC clawed back, made it a respectable game. That's when Paul Pavilion realized, hey, we can rock. We can go crazy for this game. Don't think it's a stretch that USC announced they sold this game out 3 weeks in advance, and UCLA, a day before they play USC, announced the same thing. Yeah, our game against USC at the beginning of March is also sold out. Both teams like, hey, yeah. And now that it's slowly becoming nationally relevant again, oh, wait, this is the story in college basketball. These are the 2 of the best teams, the 2 of the biggest stars on the women's side coming to meet in whoever wins, Big Ten Player of the Year. All right, whoever plays better, National Player of the Year, Wooden Award, and the 1 seed, Big Ten Championship. They can say, yeah, we won the inaugural Big Ten. We won the region side. We get a better and easier path, which can make a huge difference between playing in Birmingham in the Elite Eight Sweet 16 or playing in Spokane. Now, there is a world where both these teams do end up on the western side of the country, not having to travel as far for their second weekend matchups. That's what makes this game so fascinating. So now let's get into the details. You're going to look at JuJu Watkins, who has not played well as of late in the last 3 games. Lauren Betts has not done the same thing. JuJu Watkins, if you're a USC fanboy, that's going to be like, oh, JuJu Watkins owned UCLA last year. She averaged close to 30 points per game, if not more. She had 33, 32, and 27. All right, those are big statistical gaudy numbers to look at in terms of points per game against UCLA. So a little over 30 points per game JuJu Watkins scored against UCLA. All right, I like to think UCLA has better defensive answers for JuJu now. I do. I think they're more athletic. They've got more depth to throw out there and potentially guard her. I'm not going to say they're going to shut her down, but JuJu does not shoot the ball always with the most efficiency. Last year as a true freshman, shot it just above 40%. This year a little bit better, but she can be clamped down. Now, the iconic JuJu moment was a 50-point game when they knocked off Stanford. Hasn't had that big moment yet, but has scored 40 points against CBU, California Baptist. JuJu against UCLA, averaging close to 30 points per game. In those 3 games against UCLA, shot 32% from the field, 16% from 3, and shot what I counted to be 17 free throws in the Pac-12 tournament game. Against UCLA at the Galen Center last year, 16 free throws. And then when UCLA played them the first time, 12 free throws. So on average, JuJu, with some quick math, had a total of 45 free throws, if I did my math correct. 17 plus, let's see if I did my math right. All right, 29 plus 12, 43, close to it, right? Pretty close to it in terms of nearly averaging 15 free throws per game. All right. She averages quite a few free throws per game. Quite a bit. And when JuJu shot more than 15 free throws against UCLA, they won both those games, USC. Now, you mix in, yes, it was double overtime in one of those games. Okay, add that there. But JuJu shooting 17 free throws in a home game 17 free throws in a Pac-12 tournament game, making 14 of those. Against UCLA, the second time she played them, 16 for 16 from the line in a game where she shot 36%. The first time she played, shot 29% and only got to the free throw line 12 times, while also having 11 rebounds and doing just a bit of everything against UCLA. So what UCLA has to do, first things first, do not let JuJu shoot 15 or more free throws. You cannot. That is the number. That could be the hard line difference in this game. Unless JuJu is having the best game of her life, and she is 60% from the floor, 50% from the floor, hitting 3 or more threes, getting to the line, gliding, you cannot foul JuJu Watkins as the last resort. So she misses a lot of shots. You have to play physical, but if she's getting to the line, she is just as lethal. And you want to know how many times she's had 15 free throws in her career outside of UCLA? The UCLA games? Only a couple, but against UCLA specifically, she has had 2 15-plus free throw attempts in a game, 2 of those with 14 or more free throw makes, and those were both USC wins. Yes, double overtime game included, but that is a huge difference. Her getting to the line and making shots, getting free baskets, getting free points, that is a huge thing. Now, another thing for UCLA, I think they're deeper. They can play physical defense without fouling in this game. UCLA has a big physical interior presence advantage, Lauren Betts versus Kiki, but we get to see the Stanford versus Stanford battle, right? Battle of former Cardinal players. The other thing is, who's going to win the turnover battle? I'm looking at the numbers. UCLA has turned it over this season 356 times, but they also have 485 assists. So they share the basketball line. The primary ball handler is Kiki Rice. She can get her own buckets. She can dish it. UCLA likes to share the basketball. Not that USC is going to be a ball hog offense. No, JuJu Watkins does lead her team in assists, but she also has 10 more assists than turnovers. Not the best ratio. She gets it back on the defensive end, but USC 409 assists, 348 turnovers. So UCLA passes the basketball a bit more, mostly because they're wanting to feed Lauren Betts. Sometimes those passes are a bit errant, a bit erratic, and teams rip it away and get easy buckets the other way. So this game is going to come down to, can UCLA rip the ball from JuJu? Can they take it away from some of these USC players that have the ball out in their hands? Kiki Iriafen. Between JuJu and Kiki, USC's Kiki, they have 125 turnovers. 125 turnovers. All right. Now, there are other USC players that turned over, but the thing that makes JuJu so dangerous is she has 51 steals, leader of all of USC's team, and 39 blocks, second on the Trojans. So she gets it back and then some on the defensive end. UCLA, though, their point guard, who handles the ball a lot, 87 assists, 37 turnovers. And considering the amount of times that Kiki Rice plays, has the ball in her hands, 87 assists. So she knows how to distribute the basketball, 37 assists. Here are the two key players in this game. That's going to lead us into point 3. Can UCLA rely on Alina Arnasalo to play point guard minutes, major point guard minutes, if Kiki Rice is in foul trouble? Or they need two guards on the floor because Alina Arnasalo leads UCLA in assists. Who would have thought that a true freshman recruit would have led UCLA in assists this year? But that is Arnasalo at this point heading into mid-February, and only has 52 assists. So 2-to-1 assist ratio as a somewhat primary ball handler at times, as a true freshman that gets big minutes in Arnasalo, 23, 24 minutes a game. If she has a true freshman performance, that's USC. They would attack her. I would think their game plan, not to force Lauren Betts to miss 10 shots. That's not always going to happen. It's who's passing the ball to Betts. Is it Arnasalo in an entry? They would try to steal that pass as opposed to bodying up Betts. They don't want Betts to get the ball. UCLA has to have the connection from the perimeter to get the ball into the post, and that is how UCLA will win this game. Another key, I wonder with Janiah Barker's size, ball handling ability, scoring ability, will she be tasked with potentially guarding JuJu, or at some points guarding JuJu Watkins, switching around, being a mismatch like she can be. Janiah Barker, though, is somewhat of a turnover machine. Janiah Barker, the UCLA Texas A&M transfer, has 61 turnovers, leads everybody on the UCLA roster, and she does not have the ball in her hands as much, it seems like, as Lauren Betts, Kiki Rice, or Alina Arnasalo. So she's someone who can handle the basketball, but is liable of coughing it up. Does that earn her more minutes in this game? Because her physical presence, her ability to get to the cup and rebounds can allow her to be an aggressor in this game? Or is her liability offensively to turn it over going to leave her off this roster to this game, right? Is she not going to play as much? Those are players that USC are most likely to attack in terms of turning it over, because these are two games where USC, they can turn it over 20 times and still win. But UCLA, and you look in the two losses, USC turned it over, but so did their opponents. Iowa turned it over 17 to 18 times. Notre Dame turned it over 20 to 21 times. As much as I'm afraid UCLA is going to turn it over, it's these players who can't turn it over when they get big minutes. If Kiki Rice is sitting, if Lauren Betts is sitting, you put these players in who have made significant contributions to this team in one way or another, but they are going minus 10 when two of your best players are off the floor, minus 15. You can't make that up in a game where the margins are so slim. Now, I could point to, yes, UCLA could still turn this ball over 20 times and win. I think it's unlikely UCLA can play very sloppy and win. Third thing, all right, I'm looking at the Arnasalos, the Barkers. It's UCLA's depth that is going to prevail and win this game against USC. To do so, you have to look at Gabriela Jaquez. Gabs, as she's beloved and known, has become a secret third scoring option for UCLA. She comes in averaging 10 points per game, all right? I enjoy a London Jones breakout three-point performance, or to me, a Gardner when she gets red hot. Which of those third to fourth, fifth options for both teams are going to come through? Lindsey Gottlieb built her team through the portal, got their own Oregon State transfer, got their own Stanford post to level up with UCLA size inside and build the depth of her team. The game is going to be won by two of these three things. Does Watkins get to the free throw line? Who wins the turnover battle? And can UCLA's depth outscore, outplay, outmaneuver USC's post? UCLA, they only win if they turn it over 20 or more times, if they do turn it over 20 or more times, if they've got significant contribution from London Jones, right? Last time when UCLA beat USC, she was red hot from three. She played really, really well at the Pauley Pavilion game when the Bruins beat USC. Standout performance, 20 to 21 points. If she's knocking down threes, UCLA does not lose these games. If she is hot and efficient from downtown, UCLA doesn't lose this game. And as long as you keep JuJu off the line, limit turnovers, two of those three things will determine those games. UCLA checks those two of the three, then where we talk in the post-game reaction, that's why UCLA won. They were able to do two of the three things. Limit Watkins' free throws, win the turnover battle, which both teams are awful at. Bruins share the ball more, but USC steals it back more often. And which side has better depth? That'll be tested in game one. Don't expect UCLA to get calls. It's at the Galen Center. Come on, that's going to be rocking. They want to beat UCLA. It would make for better television if USC wins this game. UCLA at the last part of the regular season beats them back, building up their case for a one seed, only for a trilogy matchup to happen in a Big Ten tournament, and then they can build up a fourth matchup in the NCAA tournament deep late March in April. All right? So it makes sense if we had the reverse of last year. USC wins first, and then UCLA wins twice or three times. It would make sense for that to happen. Now, with UCLA unbeaten, we want to hear that smack talk. I don't want to see UCLA fall down the rankings. No, they are the best team in the country. Heading into this game, after this game, 3 weeks after this game, they are the best team in the country. How about they assert their authority, showcase the energy they did against South Carolina, and do it to them and beat USC? Because they deserve a beatdown on the court because UCLA, they let USC back in it in that Pac-12 tournament game. And we've been waiting for this moment a little bit longer than we did last season. Time to see who's better for now. And then we got to wait till the end of the regular season when those two teams play and then might face off a week later in the Big Ten tournament. Who's going to win? It's a toss-up. Two of those three keys: free throws, turnovers, and depth. UCLA does two of those three things, they will win this game at the Galen Center, which will not be easy. And at the moment, the way UCLA is playing, it is a very losable game to USC at the Galen Center. Not a heartbreak, not a choke, but very losable game against a very quality opponent. And we'll talk about it afterwards as well. Hands up, Bruins fans. 8 clap time, baby. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. UCLA. UCLA. Fight, fight, fight. This has been Locked On UCLA. Zach signing off. BETTS. Let's go. Go Bruins.